What's up, Melanated family? This is your boy Harrison from MelanatedFathers.com and Melanated Fathers TV on YouTube. This is another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast, where we come to you every Friday to discuss an important topic dealing with our community, dealing with our families. Sometimes we discuss these topics with different people that I choose to interview. I typically like to interview people who are passionate about whatever it is they're doing, whether they write, whether they are in entertainment, whether they are a school teacher, you know what I'm saying? Whatever their profession may be, we just look to speak to passion-driven individuals and use these conversations as inspiration, as motivation, just giving people information I think they can use moving forward, right? Also, on the podcast, what I like to do is what I call business spotlight, where I spotlight a few businesses. Again, like I always say, sometimes the businesses are here local where I am in Sacramento, California. Sometimes the businesses are in different states, different countries even. I want the whole point of speaking about the businesses is, of course, bring new business to these businesses that I mentioned, but also inspire people to maybe come up with something on their own. Maybe a business I mentioned is something that you don't have in your city, you feel me? And you think it'll be necessary, or you think it'll be beneficial to have something similar in your city, then maybe you can start that type of business, or you can get something like that going, right? So we have the great conversations, we discuss the businesses to get everything going, and that's pretty much how everything works here at the Melanated Convo podcast, family. So, for the first business of the day, I had a brother on Facebook a couple months ago. I posted a request basically asking of any businesses that people knew of that I can advertise on the show for free. I don't charge anybody at this point. I think, that's a part of, in my mind, that's like a part of me giving back, just using my platform and whatever that comes with, to support these brothers and sisters. So this brother reached out to me, and he has a barbecue spot here in the Sacramento area called Slams BBQ. It's Slams BBQ, S-L-A-M-S, Slams BBQ. The barbecue spot is located, close to the neighborhood that I grew up in on Mac Road. It's located at 4581 Mac Road, that's Sacramento, California, 95823. The brother has daily specials every day. As far as the sides and everything is concerned, he has yams, greens, red beans and rice, potato salad, coleslaw, everything you would need. Of course, there's seafood, there's ribs, tri-tip. He has some Louisiana hot links that I personally want to try myself, different desserts. He has a Slams sampler where he, put different meats together so you can sample them. I've had the opportunity of going into the business one time. This is before I was aware of who the brother was. My 18-year-old son knew about the place, and he wanted to try the barbecue. So we went in there and got him something to eat. Really nice establishment. Like the how everything is set up in the inside is really comfortable, really nice. So if you're in the Sacramento area, if you're on the south side of Sacramento, even if you're in the north or the east or whatever, but this is a business that's in the south side of Sacramento where I was raised. If you're in the area, make sure you stop by Slams BBQ. Again, that's 4581 Mac Road, 95823. The brother got everything you need on the menu. If you like barbecue, it's definitely a spot to visit. Like I said, real comfortable, right in the area that I was raised in, and this is a brother, you know what I'm saying? So everybody in Sacramento that's hearing the sound of my voice, please go support the brother. Find a time that suits you. I think he's open Monday through Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. I think he is closed on Sunday. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, he's on Mac Road in the area I was raised in. Please stop in to visit the brother. Now, if you're in a city and of course, you're not in my city, you can't get to this place, what type of restaurants are in your area? Are there any black-owned restaurants in your neighborhood? Now, many of us start with barbecue. I think that's traditionally the food that we eat as black folks. But you can open any type of restaurant. I think we need to eventually get to that point where we're branching off and we're making different types of foods that but making the business black owned. You see what I'm saying? Just serving American food where it's just steaks and chicken and everything. You know what I'm saying? So if you are in a city and there's no barbecue place near your residence or in your area, maybe you want to open one yourself. If not barbecue, maybe some other type of food, maybe some other type of business. The point is, economically, as black folks, of course you can get a job and work at your job for 20 years. Ain't nobody knocking that. There's nothing wrong with that. I guess there is a little security in that. But as black folks, economically in this country, we're behind most races of people, and we don't have our own. You feel me? We spend a lot of money outside of our community, and that's me too, to a degree, so I'm not just talking to my family. I'm speaking about myself too. That's why I try to make a concerted effort to visit black restaurants, to buy clothing from black people who sell it, because all of us spend a lot of our money outside of our community. So that's kind of what the business spotlight wants to focus on, is just kind of bringing some of that money back to our community. Because if our community is more financially well off, the people are going to be more financially well off. If we have money circulating in our community, then a lot of the negative things that we do to each other will subside as well. You feel me? When we look at the streets, man, and we look at what a lot of the young dudes in the streets are doing, a lot of that shit is motivated by money. A lot of that shit is motivated by finances. You feel me? So if we can, as parents, as the adults, if we can start creating environments where we're owning businesses and bringing our kids into these businesses, allowing them to see how the business is run, allowing them to see how money transfers, allowing them to see how you can do something positive, something on the right side of the law to get some bread. That can be the spark we need to keep this thing going. You feel me? So that's one business, Slams BBQ. If you're in the Sacramento area, please visit my brother. Now, for the second business, like I said last week, every business that I advertise, I'll do it for 2 weeks in a row, just to give that particular person, that particular business, the maximum amount of exposure that my platform will allow. And for the second business, it's a brother I spoke about last week. My brother Sylvester has an organization called Black Father Nation. Now, Sylvester is in Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota, I think. But this is a brother who I connected with early on when I started Melanated Fathers of America. He reached out to me early on. I was able to interview him about the beautiful relationship he has with his daughter. If you go to if you go to melanatedfathers.com, you can find the interview with Sylvester Ware. But at that point, he was just starting his organization, Black Father Nation. Since then, it was just, I've been really proud to see his progression from that point. At this point, the brother is doing events in the Minnesota area where, him and other fathers go to different parks in the city to clean the parks up. He had a workshop a few weeks ago where a female beautician that he was aware of held a workshop with him present. Like, I think he put it on with her to teach fathers how to do their little girl's hair. You know what I'm saying? So Sylvester is a really positive brother. He's really attempting to do good things in the community. Now, if you go to blackfathernation.com, you can find that he has clothing there as well. If you're in the area and need job leads, parenting advice, legal resources, and for some of the benefits he offers, you don't necessarily have to be in Minnesota to get it. You know what I'm saying? He has his number on the website. He has his email address on the website. And I just like the fact that the brother, he's using his experiences as a father. He's using his experience and his passion for our community to do something for us. And, at the end of the day, y'all, I'm completely behind anybody of our race that puts black people first. And we got to get to a point where we're comfortable doing that. Just because you say that that you're pro-black or you think about your community first doesn't mean you feel negatively about any other community. We got to get off that shit. Just because I say I love my people don't mean I dislike anybody else. You feel me? So go to blackfathernation.com com. Support the brother, reach out to him, look at some of his work, give him, like I said last week, man, sometimes with some of these businesses, some of these organizations that these brothers and sisters is starting, you can support people in several different ways. Of course, you can use finances to buy whatever they're selling. Of course, you can use your time if you wanted to help out and all this type of shit. That's all useful, and that's all understandable. But at the same time, sometimes all we need, being creators, being people who are attempting to step out of the box to create something for our community or for our family, sometimes you can just reach out to somebody and say, hey man, I see what you're doing, keep it up. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's all people in that position need to hear to keep going from day to day. Because I can tell you from personal experience, it's being somebody who traditionally was a worker for the most part, not really owning my own shit, not really doing my own thing, pretty much working for other people, working a 9 to 5 for somebody else. That can, that's an easier road to a degree. You know what to expect every day. You have someone else kind of creating the blueprint that you're functioning under. When you start your own business, when you start your own thing, it's day to day. It's yourself. It's you coming up with the ideas. It's you being creative. It's you activating all these different things, right? So that could be, it's much more rewarding, but it can be difficult too. So if you can just reach out to people doing something positive. We talk a lot of shit on social media. We share a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? How often do you reach out to the homie that got a business and just share his post? You feel me? You know how big that is, just to grab his flyer and share it on your page, or grab his clothing line, whatever it may be, and share it on your page. That type of support goes a long way too, family. So go to blackfathernation.com. Check out what my brother Sylvester is doing. Now, for the topic, no guest today. You feel me? We not gonna have a guest today. It's just gonna be me spitting at the family. So for the topic, something I wanted to kind of dig deeper into. Last week, I wrote an article on my website, melanatedfathers.com, entitled, "My 18-year-old son is reckless and irresponsible. My 18-year-old son is reckless and irresponsible. Should I kick him out?" And the whole premise of the article was basically digging deeper into, when should we kick our children out? When should your child leave the home? Like, how do we formulate that type of structure? Like, do you kick them out at 18? Do you, make them go to college? Do you make them work? Like, what's your process when it comes to releasing your child from the nest, basically? Because that's pretty much what it is. I think for most of us, we would prefer if our child just at around that age on their own, they took the initiative to want to go to college outside of the state, maybe, or go to college and live in a dorm, or move out on their own, whatever that may be, right? You as parents, you want to see your kids take the initiative and be responsible and become adults, right? But I think, and what I was touching on in the article, I think this has to be handled on a case-by-case basis. And also, as black folks, like speaking directly to my people, we have to look at under what conditions did we raise our children under. I think sometimes we get like selective amnesia when we can have, as a kid, when our children were kids, we could have fucked their life up. We could have put them through trauma. We could have been on drugs. We could have been house to house. We could have been extremely unstable. And then once we come out of that, we want to act like that never happened and demand all these things from our children, when I think we need to be realistic about, first, how did we raise our children? Like, what type of responsibility did we bestow upon them as a adolescent, when they're 9, 10, 11 years old, when they're around the house with us? How responsible did we require them to be? You feel me? How affected were we by the racist system that we live in? How affected were we by the crack epidemic? How affected were we by poverty? You see what I'm saying? Like, all this shit we had to take all this shit into consideration, because I think sometime in our community we normalize shit that's just not normal. Being in a impoverished environment, living without certain things, that shit ain't normal. You feel what I'm saying? But we normalize it based on the mental fuckery that we've been kind of put under being in this system, and how we look at each other, and how we, you may see what I'm saying? So as parents, we have to be real with ourselves and be reflective and accountable for how we used to live, how accountable we would make our children. All these things are necessary to look at, and again, it's on a case-by-case basis. Now, also, what I was saying in the article is, you have to look at each, if you have multiple kids, right, looking at each individual child and how responsible they are actually. Even if let's say you provided them with the right upbringing, you provided them with the resources they need to be effective in school, to be effective in society, and you see this kid just isn't responsible. This kid is continually going the wrong way. This kid is continually defying me to a degree. You see what I'm saying? So if you have a child that is coming of age, they're 17, 18, they're getting around that age, and they don't listen, or they're having sex irresponsibly. Let's say they fucking with drugs a little bit irresponsibly, but you can see when it comes to their lives, just as far as how they take school, how serious do they manage schoolwork, how serious do they manage any activities outside of school, right? You got to take a look at that shit. But if you have a child that, and this is my opinion, if you have a child that's around that age that's being extremely irresponsible, and you've given them everything you could, you've put your best foot forward to provide the resources and the structure necessary to make them well-rounded adults, and let's say they still choose to go the other way, tough love really needs to be instituted. I think when we look at black families and when we look at single moms, sometimes, for whatever reason, sometimes women find themselves in situations where it's just them raising their kid. Tough love has to be instituted, man. So in my opinion, sometimes all that a young person needs is that shock of reality. So sometimes we should put their ass out. And it's mentally, the way you should frame it, in my opinion, is this isn't permanent. You ain't got to tell your kid that, but this isn't a permanent thing. It's not like get the fuck out, stay out. But no, you in my house, you in my house, you don't want to live by my rules, you don't want to listen to what I have to say, your ass need to get out. Pack up all they shit, put their shit outside. And then most kids, I think, will mature from a situation like that. They'll see, okay, it's difficult out here. Like my mom used to always tell me, nobody outside of this house love you, and I never, or nobody outside of this house gonna love you like I do. And basically, all she meant by that is we conduct the relationship with our kids with a lot of empathy, with a lot of love. You feel me? With a lot of passion. People outside of your house just don't give a fuck like that. So they're not gonna treat you with the same amount of empathy, with the same amount of care that you're handled with when it comes to one of your parents. So sometimes a kid or a young adult needs to go out of the house just to see how tough it is. They need to go out of the house to see how it feels to pay bills, how it feels to be responsible for all the finances in the house, be responsible for all the food in the house. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes putting your kid in that situation is all that they need to see. Okay, I need to, if I go back to my mom's house or my dad's house, I need to be respectful, I need to be responsible, I need to take shit more serious. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes that's all they need, because ultimately our job is to prepare them for the world outside of our home. You see? And sometimes you gotta implement that tough love and be like, all right, I spent these years kind of training you to a degree, giving you the information I know about my morals and standards when it comes to life. Sometimes you got to let them test that shit. Sometimes, it's beyond the point of still talking to them and discussing certain things. Sometimes it's like, okay, you go out and see what I've been talking about. You go out and see how true these things are that I've been trying to drill into your head. You feel what I'm saying? Because what I notice sometimes, and it's a extremely gray area, y'all, because sometimes when you are in a situation where you're letting your child live there with you, and they may not be responsible, they may not be respectful to you, but they're of age and they're not going to college, they're not working, right? They got a little girlfriend or a little boyfriend that they always bringing around the house, all this kind of shit. Keep in mind, y'all, let's keep it real. If you allow this shit, you could be a part of the problem. If you allow this shit, if you become an enabler to a degree, that's a negative thing. That can have a negative repercussion on your child's life. That can kind of stunt their growth to a degree. If you allow them to live mentally like they're an adult, they calling the shots, saying what they want, saying what they don't want, but don't do any of the other things that make you an adult, as far as paying bills, as far as being responsible for things around the house. You see what I'm saying? I think sometimes we allow our kids, when they become of age, to walk around like they the shit, and in actuality they ain't paying no bills. They ain't doing nothing that an adult does. You see what I'm saying? I'm not one that believes just because you're 18, just because you're 21, you're an adult. I mean, your age says that, yeah, but what the fuck you doing with your life? If you're not being responsible, if you're not taking care of yourself effectively, because you can live on the street and, okay, you live it on your own, but shit, how effective is that? If you're not able to bring money in on your own and create a structured lifestyle that allows you to pay your bills and allows you to do the things you need to do to move forward, if you're not doing that, you're not fully an adult. Just because you can have sex, just because you can have kids, does not make you an adult. If you're not living out on your own, responsible for your own. Now, granted, there's different sides to this. You can have a teenager living with you, but pays their way. Pay whatever bill you give them, they take care of, and they go to work every day, or they go to school every day. See, I'm not against that. I don't think when a kid turns 18, we should just wash our hands with them and throw them out. But you got to play it case by case. You got to look at the maturity level of your child. And I think some kids need to kind of be shocked into reality to a degree. You feel me? So putting them out with an open door policy, again, you ain't got to tell them, get out, but you can come back. No, you kick their ass out if it's like that. And, you just know in the back of your head, if they really need me, I'm still here. But at the end of the day, we need to prepare these kids to be adults. We need to prepare these kids to be productive adults in society. When we look at black folks in general, how we're treated by authority, how we're treated by the system at large, how we're treated now, and just from our history of being here, we need to factor that in when it comes to raising our kids. I think that's why we should implement tough love. We should implement structure and really becoming creating like a solid relationship with a woman or a man before we have children. Because when we bring our kids into this world and we're not equipped, it's worse for us. Economically, it's worse for us. When it comes to the school system, when it comes to the educational system, we're kind of attacked at all fronts. So if we create children without structuring it to a degree, without planning it to a degree, without making sure we're in a solid situation with the woman or the man, and we have kids, and now our children got to deal with the fact that we're not stable, the fact that we are unsure how we want to move forward, that makes it worse. When you black and you conduct yourself like that, that shit makes it worse, family. So we need to do a better job as parents. Not just, see, it don't start when your kid is 2 or 3 or whatever age your kid is. That shit starts with you and the person you're having sex with. You and the person that you decided to have a kid with. You and the person that you decided to spend the rest of your life together. Because that's what it is, family. Regardless if y'all decide to be in a relationship or not, you gotta be associated with this motherfucker for the rest of your life to a degree. You see what I'm saying? That's why the moment that you meet somebody and you begin a relationship with them and you guys begin vibing, that's when the thoughts, to me, that's when we begin thinking about, shit, am I going to have kids with this person? Is this the right person to have kids with? You see what I'm saying? And this can't happen overnight. And this is all my opinion, family. This can't happen overnight. This can't happen over a couple months. In my opinion, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. In my opinion, you should be in a adult relationship with somebody for at least 5 years before you have a baby with them. At least 5 years. Adult relationship. So I don't mean you 17, they live with their mama, you live with your mama, and y'all hook up to fucking kick it. Nah. An adult relationship. A couple of those years, y'all should even live together, family. I don't think nobody should get married. I don't think nobody should start nothing serious shouldn't get married, shouldn't have kids until you're completely sure about your partner. And the only way to be completely sure about your partner is time. Time is the only thing that's gonna reveal that. You can't accelerate that shit because the sex is good. You can't accelerate it because your biological clock is ticking. You can't accelerate it because you just vibing with them so cool right now and it feels so good. That euphoria that you feel when it's a new fucking relationship, right? You gotta be able to put that shit to the side and think about the future, because too many of us, I think, get into that situation, have a baby with a motherfucker. 2 years later, we ain't together, we don't even like him, we ain't cool, we ain't friends, we ain't none of that. But we got this kid we have to raise forever. Now, of course, people will say, well, the kid is still beautiful. You can still raise the kid to be successful. Of course, you can still do that. Shit, I can drive with my feet if I needed to, but the shit ain't smart. You see what I'm saying? We need to focus on the relationship with the person. And some people, you can meet them and be in a relationship with them and realize, okay, you know, I shouldn't have children with this person. They cool, we vibing, but that don't mean a baby should come of it. You see what I'm saying? And then we have a kid with somebody. Then we're looking to dig deep in what kind of person they are. Then we have the conversations about how we feel kids should be raised, and that's when a lot of clashing comes. That's when a lot of miscommunication happens. You see what I'm saying? And the only person that suffers when all of this happens is the child, family. So I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but that's some real shit, y'all. So when it comes to whether or not our teenage child should be kicked out, to kind of end it on this note, of course, in a perfect world, they'll just leave. In a perfect world, they'll make their own plans, and you'll see that they're responsible and they're moving in a direction where you'll say, you know what, this isn't a child that I'm going to have to kick out. They're going to go to college. They're going to work. They're going to put their best foot forward when it comes to, you know, their little adult life that they're about to lead. Of course, we have those situations, family. But if you have a kid, especially a boy, you know, I'm a little biased to that. If I had a girl who's 18, who's a little more irresponsible, I may work with her a little more, just to be honest. But if you have a boy in this society that we face as black people, all of the loopholes that are created to keep us disenfranchised, it's extremely important that we provide tough love and guidance to our boys. So if you have a boy that you see inside of him that he can be great, that he can be something, but he just don't know how serious life is, he's just not taking life serious enough, he's not being responsible, he's not listening to you, he's doing whatever the fuck he want to do, you may need to put him out for a while. You feel me? And the idea behind it is this can help him. It's not like a punishment per se. It's to help, and so he can get through his head how important he is, how important him making the right decisions is. Because what I hate to see, family, and this is from me looking at my children, I hate to see young black men become statistics. I hate to see young black men fall by the wayside when it comes to dealing with the law, when it comes to dealing with the street. Now, of course, sometimes in our community, these things are around us and they're unavoidable to a degree, but as parents, we don't want our kids involved in none of that shit. You see what I'm saying? So like I said, man, it goes back to how you parent. It goes back to the structure and the resources that you created when your kid was a child. All these things matter, but at times you may have to institute that tough love. You see what I'm saying? Just for the sake of your kid's future, family. Just for the sake of your kid's future, family. You feel me? So that's been another episode, man, of the Melanated Convo podcast. I wanted to come to y'all real quick, talk about this topic, and think about this, man. Talk about this if you got kids that are 15, 13, 14, talk about it with them. Talk about college. Talk about how they feel about these things. Do they think they would want to move out? Like, do they want to go to college? Do they want to go to the military? Like, you got to have up until it's time for them to graduate high school. You should be having detailed conversations about their future and how they view their future. You feel me? So that's been another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast, man. You can find this podcast everywhere podcasts are, all digital platforms. It's on YouTube at Melanated Fathers TV on YouTube. You can find it on Spotify at the Melanated Convo podcast on Spotify. Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are, you can find the show there. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to another episode of the show. I want to thank everybody for going to the website, which is melanatedfathers.com, and checking the website out. And just showing me love, man. I know the message that I present and the information that I talk about isn't, it isn't gossip. It isn't as sexy as some of the other shit we see on the internet as far as talking about celebrities or talking about, that's just not my thing, y'all. I want to be completely honest and talk about what I've been through as a father and talk about, shit that can be progressive to our society. And I know it's a lane for that, so I'm going to keep pushing and doing my thing. Follow me on Instagram at MelanatedFathers100. Follow me on Twitter at Melanin100. Again, this has been another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. Oh, before I go, I almost forgot. Everybody in Sacramento, all my parents in Sacramento, let me pull the flyer up on my phone real quick. My boy Jermaine Brown has a really innovative and great basketball league called Elevate Your Game Junior NBA Basketball League, where kids between the ages of 6 and 14 can come and participate at this basketball league. I'm one of the coaches. I'm proud to be one of the coaches and affiliate with Jermaine. He's a real good dude. We from the ages of 6 to 14, between the ages of 6 and 14, boys and girls, we're having our second camp. We had a camp a few weeks ago. We're having our second camp this Saturday. So tomorrow, basically, bring the kids out. Even if you don't want to sign up for the league, even if you're not sure, if you don't want to play basketball, please just come to Burbank. 3500 Florin Road, my alma mater. Come to Burbank tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're gonna have another camp where we go over drills and just kind of give the parents an idea of what their kids will be learning. So it's 10 to 1. From 10 to 11:30, it's the 6U and 8U will be going through a camp. From 11:30 to 1 p.m. it'll be 10U, 12U, and 14U. That'll be going through a camp where it's drills, where it's different games that we play with them. Jermaine sets it up really, really nice. So any parents out there, man, excuse me, sorry about that, guys. I had a damn coffee this morning. Any parents out there who are interested and signing their kids up for the league, if you're interested in your child learning the game of basketball, y'all, because that's one of the big elements of this league is we try to teach the game of basketball. So it's not like AAU where it's going to be super competitive, all about just competing. Even though competition is a vital part in being successful at basketball, we want to make sure we teach children how to play the game the right way. So if you're interested in your kid learning how to play basketball the right way, bring them down to the Junior NBA. And actually, just to say it correctly, Jermaine's Elevate Your Game Junior NBA League has partnered with the Grant Junior team just to combine it, making Capital City Hoops is what it'll be. So not only will we play games at Burbank, but we'll also travel to Grant a couple times. They'll bring kids to to Burbank as well to play. So it's just a way to expand everything, get more teams involved, get more people involved. But parents, if you're out there, man, if you got a kid between the ages of 6 and 14 and you want them to learn the game of basketball, please bring them to the Junior NBA, the Elevate Your Game Junior NBA Basketball Camp this Saturday, tomorrow, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Like I said, if your kid is between 6 and 8 years old, it's 10 a.m. to 11:30. If your kid is between 10 and 14 years old, it's from 11:30 to 1 p.m. If you want more information about it, you can look up Junior NBA, Elevate Your Game Junior NBA on Facebook. You can call my boy Jermaine at 916-267-4073. That's 916-267-4073. $40.73. If you're interested in just getting more information, it's $75 per kid. Keep it in mind, other rec leagues in Sacramento are typically about $150. So this is cheaper. We put a lot of time into making sure the kids learn. So it's a really, really, really good basketball league. All my parents out there, if you know any parents that are interested, please let them know. The season starts January 5th, 2020, goes all the way to March 1st, 2020. So it's a couple months in there that we play. Yeah, so that's for all my parents out there. If you're interested, please contact my boy Jermaine, or just bring your kid to Burbank tomorrow so we can get that thing popping, man. So this has been another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast family. I'm out.